Saint of the Day Saint Maria Bertilla Boscardin. N. Saint Isabelle of France, Saint Maria Bertilla Boscardin. Nun and nurse. Born, October 6, 1888. Brandola, Veneto, Italy. Died, October 20, 1922, aged 34. Treviso, Italy. Venerated in Roman Catholic Church. Beatified, June 8, 1952. Pope Pius XII. Canonized, May 11, 1961. Pope John. Major Shrine, Vicenza, Veneto, Italy. Feast, October 26. Maria Bertilla Boscardin was an Italian nun and nurse who displayed a pronounced devotion to duty in working with sick children and victims of the air raids of World War I. She was later canonized a saint by the Roman Catholic Church. Anna Francesca Boscardin was born in 1888 to a family of peasants in Brandola, Veneto. Her father testified to his abusive behavior during her beatification process. Everyone considered her slow. A local priest called her a goose. She was turned down by the first order she applied to, but the Sisters of St. Dorothy admitted her to their convent, assigning her the religious name Bertilla and sending her to peel potatoes at their large charity hospital in Treviso. Sister Bertilla worked in the kitchen, taking time off only to return to the mother house to make vows. Back at the hospital, she was operated on for cancer. After recovering, she was assigned to work with the children. Most of them were suffering from diphtheria, had undergone tracheotomies, and needed constant attention. One of the doctors at Treviso later testified that many of the children, separated from their families for the first time, arrived at the hospital in such a state that it took 2 or 3 days to calm them down. Sister Bertilla, he recalled, succeeded in rapidly becoming a mother to them all. After 2 or 3 hours the child, who was desperate, clung to her, calmly, as to his mother and followed her wherever she went. When the war broke out in 1915, Bertilla wrote in her diary, "Here I am, Lord, to do according to your will, under whatever aspect it presents itself, let it be life, death, or terror." During the bombing of Treviso, she stayed with patients who could not be moved, praying and providing Marsala wine for those who needed it. After the war, she was sent to a sanatorium to care for soldiers with tuberculosis. Next, she was sent to a seminary to care for survivors of a devastating epidemic. Finally, she was sent back to the hospital at Treviso. Cancer recurred, and she died on October 20, 1922. Some of her former patients, as well as some of her relatives, were in the crowd at her canonization in 1961. Saint Isabelle of France. Founder of Poor Clare Monastery of Longchamp. Born, March 1225. Paris, France. Died, February 23, 1270, aged 45. Longchamp, Pays de France, Kingdom of France. Venerated in Catholic Church. Poor Clares in France. Beatified, 1521 AD. Pope Leo X. Canonized, 1696 AD. Pope Innocent XII. Feast, February 26. Patronage, Patroness of the Sick. Isabelle of France was the daughter of Louis VIII of France and Blanche of Castile. She was a younger sister of King Louis IX of France, Saint Louis, and of Alfonso, Count of Poitiers, and an older sister of King Charles I of Sicily. In 1256, she founded the Poor Clare Monastery of Longchamp in the part of the forest of Rouvray, now called the Bois de Boulogne, west of Paris. Isabelle consecrated her virginity and her entire life to God alone. She is honored as a saint by the Franciscan order. Her feast day is on the 26th of February. The daughter of King Louis VIII and Queen Blanche of Castile, Isabelle was born in 1225. At less than 2 years of age, she lost her father, but her mother gave her a complete formation, assisted by the virtuous and well-educated Lady de Boisimont. From an early age, Isabelle showed an aversion for everything that could remove her from God and later decided to dedicate her life to his service. Saint Louis IX, her brother, and her mother Blanche of Castile pressed her to marry Conrad, the son of Emperor Frederick II, because the union would be advantageous to France, but Isabelle adamantly refused. A letter from Pope Innocent IV settled the matter. He commended her resolution and advised her to persevere in her decision. Thenceforth, she began to live in the royal castle, a life similar to that of a religious in a cloister, dedicating herself principally to helping the sick and the poor. God sent her many trials, long and grave illnesses, the death of her mother, her brother's failure in the crusade and his imprisonment by the Arabs. After he was freed from captivity and had returned, Isabelle left the royal castle and founded a Franciscan house for young women in Longchamp. Later she founded the convent of the Humility of the Blessed Virgin, of which she became the abbess. As abbess, Saint Isabelle suffered from constant illness. She was also favored by mystical graces and ecstasies. In one of these revelations, she was given to know the day and hour she would pass away. She died on February 25, 1270. In accordance with her will, she was buried wearing the habit of Saint Clare in the convent she had founded. She was beatified on January 3, 1521, by Pope Leo X. Comments. In this life we find more data to negate the lie constantly spread about the royal courts. According to it, they would be dens of pleasure, sensuality, and pride, a place where virtue had no place. In the court of France at that time, however, we have two saints, one is on the throne and the other is his sister, very near to the throne. Both were giving God the greatest possible glory. There was also Blanche of Castile, their mother, who, although she is not a saint, was a most worthy woman noted for her austerity, authority, and many moral qualities. The life of Blessed Isabelle of France teaches us that God gives his saints something quite different from the American happy ending. Here you find a princess who abandoned everything to dedicate her life to the care of the poor and to prayer. Indirectly we glean from this selection that she carried a part of her brother's cross, suffering and praying for him when he was imprisoned. She also prayed for the great deeds of the Catholic cause, the Crusades. She suffered profoundly at the failure of St. Louis Crusade. She was living the life of a religious in the royal palace, but when the king came back, she left the court to found a Franciscan institution of charity. Although she was sick all her life, she conquered this obstacle and transformed it into a means for her sanctification. We see how erroneous the thinking is that imagines everything in the apostolate has to run well and end happily. This is a naturalist spirit, falsely influenced by the happy ending of the movies. Divine Providence put many obstacles in the path of Blessed Isabelle for her to achieve sanctification, and she conquered each one. The name of the convent she founded is very beautiful, the Convent of the Humility of the Blessed Virgin. It gives the impression that a mantle of humility covers the entire convent and that the humility of Our Lady is present everywhere. It seems to be a foretaste of heaven. It is delightful to see how God glorifies his saints. There is a prayer of our Lord in the Gospel in which he asks the Eternal Father to glorify him. God did glorify him, he also glorifies his saints. We see this in her life when he revealed to Blessed Isabelle of France the day and hour she would leave this world. As a reward for her fidelity, she was given to know when she would die. She was longing to be in heaven, as a bride awaiting her groom, so God told her the exact time. Her death was a glorification, a confirmation of her sanctity.